Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Starcastic Remarks, a late edition, a post game, if you will. The Stars defeat the New York Islanders with a final score 3-0. Jake Ottinger gets the 34-shot shutout with a lot of posts again in this game, but the Stars still come out on top. I'm Chris. I'm here with my brother James. James, how did you think that game went?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun game, honestly, for it being 3-0. I mean, it's fairly exciting. Still lots of mistakes, early season hockey type stuff going on. And both goaltenders honestly played pretty spectacular tonight, too. So big thumbs up for me there. I love watching those type of games.
Yep, we're a little bit delayed this evening. I was actually covering my first Texas Stars game for 100-degree hockey, so that's why we got the late night edition of the Starcastic Remarks post game show. But what I did see from the Texas Stars game, you seem pretty close to right there. I think, James. Pretty exciting still due to a lot of posts on both sides. Stars getting pretty lucky here the early season with the iron. The goal is being very kind to Jake Ottinger early. Um, but I think the Stars overall defensively were a little bit more structured than they were this game as opposed to last game. Pete DeBoer especially said that in the post game interview that he liked a lot more of how his team played as a unit cohesively and how they attacked 5-on-5 with their forecheck. Probably especially in the second half of this game. You see the first half, the Islanders had a huge shot lead, but he liked the overall play from the Stars, and I think that's good growth between game one and game two to be able to go from the craziness of game one and be a little bit more calmed down and have a great performance from your goalie in game two.
Yeah, I mean, it was still way too many shots being given up and definitely scary moments that we saw from the Stars early in the third as well. Lots of turnovers early in the third. But for the most part, we've seen these last two teams we played against give up turnovers constantly throughout the whole game. And to say that the Stars have, I mean, the biggest struggle they had was at the beginning of that third period. For the most part, you haven't seen those turnovers in your own end. Neutral zone turnovers, that's still going to be a problem. That's something that every team struggles with for forever. But yeah, it was just when we had the breakdowns, Otter was massive, or there was like once or twice that the Islanders just couldn't put it on net. I mean, they just had to put it on net. It was wide open. They couldn't do it.
Yep, and with that, James, we'll bring up our first comment from Ardell. Ardell says Jake physically dominated his crease tonight. His size and strength were on full display, and absolutely agree with that. Like James said, there was a couple of breakdowns still throughout this game, but man, Otter through the first two games, he looks to be in form, which is great and something we didn't see last season until the very end of the year. He looks like he's in that end of the year mode right off the get go, and that's what he said during his preseason stuff, was that he was very excited to get going. He felt a lot better after having a full off season, and it seems to be the fruit of his off season labor is showing in the first two games already.
Yeah, and he talked about it in the post game show. He talked about how he really enjoyed being able to go out with coaches and just being able to do his normal stuff that he does in the off season. So that's really good for him, and it's definitely looked like it. I mean, he was in full form tonight. It just, and it's not like stupid out of your mind saves either. There was like one or two of those in there, but it's being in the right place all the time, being able to face the puck constantly, finding pucks through traffic. He saw it all tonight.
Yeah, and that's how Otter plays. I mean, he's going to do the textbook correct thing in every scenario that he gets into, and that he's a type of goalie that was made by coaches. He's a coach's dream goalie, is what it feels like. Another good comment from Talik Lizzie here. Oop, there we go. They said Otter is playing for a contract this year, and yeah, he's looked like it for the first two games, and with those big contracts coming for Swayman and the reported contracts coming out of New York, he might be playing for a good bit of money here. So. Yeah. Really good for him to get started this season and off on the right foot.
And he's started good, and he also has the luck. And
when we
talk about like trophies and awards at the end of the year, you got to have that luck in there too. And it's how long is that going to sustain for, you know? That's the type of stuff that can get you those type of awards though.
100%. Let's get into the other big storyline of the night. Matt Dumba has an injury in the first period. He kind of toughs out the rest of the period, but we don't see him come back the rest of the game. Post game, DeBoer was asked about a report on him. He said that he's getting imaging done on Monday. So we got a game tomorrow. He's already out for that one pretty much. And we're going to see images on Monday. That, to me, that means that it's some kind of break or sprain or something that they're worried about. So right off the bat, the Star's shiny new toy might be taken off quickly.
I don't know if it's a shiny new toy, but it's definitely a new toy. He tried to do something fancy in the offensive zone, and it didn't work. And then he tumbled out of control, hit someone else, and then went into the boards. And I saw that, and I was like, "Oh crap!"
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where, like, you know something's wrong as soon as you see that happen, and there's just nothing you can do.
Yeah, and especially for a big guy like Dumba, anytime you take a spill like that, and you especially into the boards, there's
And
a lot of
older,
force
too.
going on to you, and older on top of that. He's a bigger guy, big spill, a lot of force, and older. Yeah, not great.
So, hopefully it's not too bad, but if it is, I mean, maybe you see Bishop get a chance early. I mean, that's kind of one of the things that was that would be fun to see. I don't think it's going to happen, honestly, because it's weird to send Bishop down to the Texas Stars and then bring him right back up, but it might. Really depends.
Yeah, and some early reporting, thanks to me being in the building tonight for the Texas Stars. We didn't see Bishop packing up and getting ready to make the drive up to Dallas yet, which we would have seen if they would want to see him tomorrow night against Seattle. So as of now, I would say we're likely seeing Smith tomorrow. That could change. They could send him up overnight, but I think it's likely that we see Smith in that spot tomorrow night.
Yeah, it's probably going to be Smith, and you honestly might even have like a Smith Lundqvist bottom pairing just so that you can have two top pairings that you just ride the whole night. It's up to the coaching staff. It's home game too, so you can kind of protect them a lot.
Yep, absolutely.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think that's exactly what would happen. I think Lindell would bump up, and they would. I think Lundqvist and Smith would get protected quite a bit from those guys. Although with the Kraken, it's kind of hard to do with a deep roster like they have. It's not like they got one or two lines. They're pretty deep all the way through, so it's going to be interesting. But we'll keep an eye out. Hopefully, the report on Monday is not as bad as it seems, and he can stay off the IR and come back next week, maybe. But from the looks of the play and from what DeBoer said after the fact, and honestly, from what the players were saying, it was like, we'll just pray for Dumba. I was like, ooh, that's not what you want to hear after a game like that. So hopefully Dumba's not too banged up, and those images come back good on Monday, and he can get back in the lineup there. So we're probably more than halfway through this podcast. We haven't even talked about the goal scorers tonight. The goal scorers are the old core for the Dallas Stars. You get Tyler Seguin and Jamie Benn, and then one more for good measure from Seguin in the empty net. That line of Seguin, Duchesne, and Marchment is still just buzzing this season. I mean, off to a great start. Honestly, it feels just like how last year did. They just clicked immediately, and they looked fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, that line combined for the most like complete line, I feel like last year. They had 19 goals where all three of them tallied a point. So that's kind of ridiculous, and they're already back to it. I mean,
that's a cool stat, James. I love that.
Yeah, I think Razor brought it up in the broadcast, and he said it was like far and away better than any other line in the NHL. It's a weird thing how they work so well together, and it's always when all of them touch the puck.
Yeah, that's true, and it's also like it's weird how those three seemingly only work together too. Because there's times we had injuries last year. Duchesne went out for a good bit. It was just not the same. You couldn't you get hardly any kind of bounce back from those guys if they weren't all together. But as soon as they were put right back together, bang, it just clicks again, and they're going off to the races. Yeah. So, yeah, that line continues to buzz. And then Jamie Benn with a textbook Jamie Benn goal. Weird scramble in front of the net. Makes one great move from his backhand to his forehand and rivals it past Varlamov. So Second goal of the night, Jamie Benn.
Yeah, and that's why with him, they both kind of pickpocket the dude at the same time. After taking a shot, it gets blocked, and they both just rip it from the dude, gives it to Jamie Benn, and he doesn't make a mistake on it.
Yep, and it's good to see Johnson get on the sheet again tonight. That's his second assist in as many games, so he's having a pretty solid start. Second line having a good start, and it's good to see. It's good to see the Stars win with scoring other than the top line, especially after the great first game the top line had last night. Not last night, the other night. But being able to count on that depth, that is the strength of the Stars. We'll say it all season long, is that depth. And we saw it tonight. Second and third line, both scoring the goals. And yeah, it was fantastic. Awesome to see Ben and Sagan do it too.
The top three lines all scoring within the first two games is a really good sign for the Stars. It shows that they can repeat what they did last year, and they're looking to do it as well.
Yep, absolutely agree. Little bit off the wall question for you, James. So apologies if you can't come up with a quick answer. But Oscar Beck in that fourth line. I think we saw Sam Steele slot back into the center spot there, where Beck was there on game one.
Yep.
A little bit better there, in your opinion. Do you think that was a good move by DeBoer?
Yeah, definitely. I thought the fourth line played much better tonight than they did in night one. And they got more ice time too. I mean, especially in the third period, they had some really good shifts when the Stars were kind of sitting back a little more, and they needed some more energy. And the fourth line brought that in the third period when we really needed it.
Yep, that's a big thing you need from your fourth line. It's got to be able to move some momentum with some scrappy shifts and some, really hard forechecking and throwing some weight around and making your presence felt by the opposing team. And it sounds like they did a good job of that as this game went on.
And all three of the fourth liners, Steele, Blackwell, and Buck, all had much, much better games than they did game one. I really think they played leaps and bounds better.
Yeah. I think a good bit of that is due to Steele playing in the center spot. DeBoer was asked a question about it during his post game, and he was saying, like, with Steele at center, he's able to use his speed a little bit more and get up and down the ice to make those plays. And Beck is also a bigger body, and when you find yourself on the boards a little bit more as a winger, he's able to make those plays and win those puck battles a little bit easier too. So it just seemed like the right thing to do. I get game one wanting to play Beck where he's comfortable in his first game. Your first NHL game, try and keep things as normal as possible. But I think it's a really good switch between getting those two guys back. And I expect to see it tomorrow night as well against the Kraken.
Yeah, and it's a very normal thing for centers to end up playing wings once they get into the NHL.
Yeah. And DeBoer's always said you can't have too many centers. That's absolutely true. The Stars lineup is chock full of centers.
We have 4 wingers listed on our forwards. Everyone else is listed as a center.
Everyone is a center.
And all Jamie Benn is one of the wingers, by the way.
Who played center a good deal in his career. So, yeah, that's a little nuts. Another thing that we kind of wanted to take a look at following game one was the faceoff percentage. We got beat bad by the Predators in that department. Technically lose tonight by 1%, but that's better. Pretty much even. It's a lot better overall. I think this is something that we're going to have to change our expectations on this year as opposed to last year. Losing Radek Faksa is a big piece to that. You look tonight, Sam Steele, who centered that fourth line, kind of your replacement for Radek Faksa, but ends with 20% faceoffs on the night. So I think there's a big drop off there.
Blackwell took over tonight too on a lot of centers as well, and he actually won the 6 draws that he took. So that was a big part of his game tonight, of Blackwell's game, was winning faceoffs, and that helped a ton. And that was a big part that was tough in the third period against the Predators, was we couldn't get the puck to start, and the Predators was just downhill the whole period.
Yeah, might be seeing a little bit more of that as it goes on as well. Figuring out that fourth line, it seems like we made some big steps here in the second game tonight. But also a lot of our bigger guys just not doing what they can normally do on the faceoff dot. Duchesne and Sagan both below 50%. Johnson below 50%, and Yeah, Robehan's right at 50%. So all those guys we know can be better face-off guys that can make up for that a little bit. But I wouldn't expect top 2 face-off numbers again for the Stars this year. Top 10, I think we still need to be around there, but maybe not as dominant as we were in the past.
Yeah, and maybe that'll make them less reliant on face-offs too, and be more puck hungry, like off of draws, even when you lose it. Because that was something we didn't see last year. Is like we felt like we just won the puck most of the time. And when the other team would win it, we just kind of sat back and set up.
Yeah, and that's a big key for, like, I think of the Avalanche in that second round playoff series that we played against them last year. They were doing a great job of winning the loss on the faceoffs and being tenacious after the puck, even though you don't technically win the draw, you still find a way to win the puck. And I think that's something that the Stars could definitely improve on, as well as being more ferocious around the dot.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else we need to hit on here tonight, James, before we close it up and get ready for the Kraken? A little bit later on today, actually, as we record this at 12:20.
Yeah. Both Johnston and Stankoven had great nights. I mean, Stankoven obviously doesn't hit the score sheet tonight, but that line was clicking a lot, and it was a miracle they didn't score at least 2 or 3. I mean, for how good Jake Ottinger was, Varlamov was right there with him for pretty much the whole game. And if it wasn't for a couple breakdowns in the slot from the Islanders, it would have been even closer than it was.
Yeah, and that one shot from Stankoven, he was totally robbed on.
Yeah.
His snake bitten is continued on from the playoffs, and it's still here today. It's crazy.
And that wasn't the only one that Varlamov robbed either. I mean,
he had several huge ones.
Once Varlamov realized that Otter was not letting things up, I mean, he stepped up too. It really was
it was a duel
and forth
tonight.
And back and forth in the goalie position tonight. And the other thing I wanted to mention with Johnson is he plays the most time on ice again. I mean, he has 18-17, which is it's a trend now. I mean, he played the most in the playoffs as a forward, and he's continuing it now to start the season. So Wyatt Johnston has become the most important forward on our team.
Yeah, and that's as the third line center, technically. Yeah. And the Stars, the line numbers don't mean much, but technically he's the third line center. So that shows you how much.
By time on ice, he's the first line center.
By time on ice, he's the first line center. But that shows you how much they love Wyatt Johnston's game and how much of a good two-way player he is. So, definitely.
One other thing I did want to mention was the 6-on-5. Thank goodness we had such a bad 6-on-5 against the Predators, because we had to face like 4 minutes of it tonight, and it wasn't anywhere near as dangerous. So 6-on-5 looked a lot better tonight. That's a big improvement. You just got to keep doing that.
Yeah, absolutely needed to clean that up from game one. That was atrocious. Almost gave up 2 goals on the 6-on-5 against the Predators. So glad they got cleaned up here.
They killed 2 minutes of it without the Islanders even getting a shot.
And getting the empty net goal is a big deal too. There were some chances for that against the Preds game, and they just couldn't get it to go. And we know they had trouble with that last year. So it's a good thing.
And no penalties were called. I forgot about that part. There were penalties that occurred within the game, but they weren't called. So it's so stupid how that can change from night to night, where you feel like everything gets called, and then this night it feels like everyone's pushing, shoving, cross-checking, interfering wherever they want, and you get 3 penalties throughout the whole game. So
yep.
How the cookie crumbles.
Biggest winner, biggest loser for you, James?
Biggest winner, Tyler Seguin. I mean, that one's obvious. He had a great night. The first goal was really, really big, and really it's that whole second line. Then to continue, keep clicking, and not even have to stop for a split second and relearn how to play as a line again. Just right back into it. It feels so easy for them. I don't understand. They touch the ice and they always know where each other are.
Yeah. My biggest winner is going to be Jake Ottinger. I mean, he makes the 34 saves tonight, and he makes it look easy. And that's how he plays. He plays to make his job look super easy. And he did a great job of it tonight. It looked like the easiest 34 save shutout anyone's ever had.
Yeah, he was the best star on the ice, far and away. I mean, he was spectacular tonight.
All right, and biggest loser, James?
Biggest loser goes to Matt Dumba because he got hurt. That really sucks. I mean, part of me is upset because the reason why he got hurt is because he's trying to do something that like us on this podcast specifically don't want him to do, which is try to juke everyone out and go deep in the offensive zone. But I mean, it's really more just the injury. That's really tough early in the season, and to try to play through it and then not be able to is where it becomes really concerning too, because it means it's probably not minor.
Yep, I agree with that. Mine's gonna be Varlamov. He had so many huge saves and he just didn't get any help from his team. That's what I'm giving it to him for. No help. So we'll see y'all again later today with the Kraken show. We'll be there a little bit quicker. So if y'all are watching DLS or the Victory Plus post game, you'll have to catch us recorded a little bit. But we'll be here at our normal time, hopefully tomorrow. And I will hopefully have a better mic. This is temporary mic situation. If you want to hear the story of my old mic, go on our Discord and hit the general channel to see what happened to that one.
There's a video.
There's a video. So check out the Discord. That's linked on our profile. But yeah, that's it for James. I'm Chris. Y'all have a good afternoon, morning, evening, whenever you're going, whatever Ryan says to close these things out. Make sure to check out our sponsors, DraftKings, and BetterHelp, and now SeatGeek. So be sure to check those guys out and use that promo code THPN to let them know that we sent you, and they like it when we let them know that. So please check those guys out. And I'll send it to myself for the GG boys.